So we're going to be talking about Vikings, these mysterious warriors that would sail the seven seas and bring terror wherever they go. Blonde, blue-eyed giants that would cross the world and rape, pillage, and plunder. But there's a lot of fallacies within the modern-day Viking image. Of raiding, raping, pillaging, plundering, it's probably a narrative that is vastly overblown. Of course, that was part of being a Viking, but as we remember, that shouldn't be the entire narrative surrounding the Viking Age. Because as we remember, Viking is a profession. And it's a multifaceted profession. So I don't know if you think about it, raiding isn't exactly a very steady source of income because, yes, you get some quick cash. You go into a monastery, you steal some gold, damn, you get some quick cash, but there's nothing else after that. On the other hand, trading becomes a much more stable source of income. So, although there was some raiding, there was also very, very importantly trading, and that's essentially where I am right now. I am currently in Birka. It was a huge trading settlement in Sweden, and you would find goods from all over the world.
But so there was all kinds of trade coming from, like I said, Baghdad, from Constantinople, which would come here, very, very important. You also had trade with inland cities. Uppsala was a very important site even before the Viking period. Here we've seen Mongolian recurve bow, I think, was found. We found silks that were traded all the way from the Middle East. All of these things together, coming together in this one place. So this was really where a lot of the Viking world, at least in the East, came together and traded.
So Birka is a historic trading town, which dates back to the 750s, a center of commerce alongside the Baltic Sea trading route. Merchants would come from all over the world in order to trade. Everything from Arabic silver, beads, ceramics, silk, iron horns, skins, and furs. The city existed for around 200 years, but it came to an end when the residents either died or abandoned the island. Today, it's home to a different sort of community, one that wants to learn more about the Viking lifestyle in Birka.
They were also much closer to Vaesen, so the creatures or whatever, the magic in the earth, in a way, and I think that's what most of us are trying to get closer to.
But Birka is a fantastic place to have a Viking reenactment because we are literally in the middle, in the center of history. It's really cool. People are coming here every day, and we get to be here, keep the village alive, and share with people at the place where all this history was happening a little bit more about the history and how people lived.
So today I'm in the Birka village. It's a Viking village kind of reenactment scene, but not just completely reenactment because it is based on some historical truth. See, Birka on the other side of the island is a very important archaeological site because this used to be a very important trading hub during the Viking Age. And so what have they done? They have, on the other side of the island, reconstructed some of the houses where people come and live for about 3 weeks in the year. And so, of course, I went around, I asked some questions, and people were very, very kind, and they invited me to their home and explained to me exactly what they do here, why they're here, what they like about the Viking past.
We're working together with people that are expert on these things. So we had one, Jens Heimdall, he came down here and he said, yeah, this is right, yeah, I found this, but there's one thing that is wrong. You don't have any compost. And the person who made the excavation in the 19th, Björn Ambrosiani, he came down here and he said, oh, this is just how I imagine it was going to be. But there's one thing wrong. Oh no, not again. What is wrong? More shit on the streets. We can't do that, the modern people. But let us go into the house here.
So all of these houses were supposedly constructed from archaeological finds, based on tools that were recreated from also archaeological finds. So it's kind of insane. I mean, imagine how long it must have took to build these houses without the modern day conveniences of screwdrivers or nails or even glue.
So this is a copy, and they have found a lot of these, and they even found little amulets, that you wear, that have this shape. So I think the fire was very, very important and a big part of everybody's life. And then you have to have the flint. You see, you make sparkles like this. So when the sparkle comes on this one, it's almost impossible to take it out.
So one of the things I've learned a lot about the settlement here is that I am really out of breath. I don't know how Vikings did it. There's a lot of uphills, but Odin. So the point is that one of the cool aspects about this Viking village in particular is that they're really, really focused about education. They've got a museum. And then when you see the tourists kind of approach the village settlers are more than welcome to answer any questions about what they're doing, how they make the clothes, what type of food they're making, how metalworks work. And these are all skills that they're recreating from archaeology, how they suspect that the Viking Age would have been like, their typical types of tasks. That is what they're doing today. And so it's kind of a live reenactment, but very much focused on the academic background so that people can come here and learn. But don't take it from me. Take it from the village settlers, who want nothing more than the pursuit of knowledge.
I think that what's most important is, like I said, we're all history nerds, and there's nothing better than a lot of other history nerds coming together and enjoying and having a good time together.
It's a very interesting age in the Nordic countries because there's a faith that we don't have anymore, and that is trying to be reconstructed in modern ways, and there's a lot of mystique about it. And with the new findings coming up that graves that we thought were men just because they have weapons turned out to be women, and there are lots of things about the Viking life that actually intrigues me and interests me, and every time I come here I learn new skills and new facts about the Viking life.
So I'm here currently at the very, very important and controversial archaeological site where they unearthed a female Viking warrior. So originally when they found the corpse, they thought it was of a male warrior because it was surrounded by a bunch of weapons and 2 dead horses. But with further inspection, they finally realized that it indeed belonged to a female. So while the body was found in 1880, it took until very recently for there to be a DNA test. So there's no longer debate as to the sex of the body, but there's still a question of whether or not she was a warrior. And while some of the discourse is valid, there's also a lot of the discourse that simply wants to hang on to the fact that if she's a woman, she couldn't have been a warrior. So this just kind of shows that even in the field of academia, there are some people that tend to want to focus on an all-white Viking male particular image. While the vast majority of women were housewives, women did experience an unusual amount of freedom during the Viking Age. They could own property, request divorce, and reclaim their dowries if their marriages ended. Some even rose to very important political positions, such as ruler. And in mythology, you'll find countless accounts of Valkyries or shield maidens, which you might recognize from the series Vikings, women who supposedly fight alongside their male counterparts. Grand, powerful women. But before we get too off topic, let's go back to Birka and ask some of the reenactors why they would give up their comforts of the modern world to come here and be a Viking.
So how long have you lived here?
This summer, 1.5 weeks,
Oh, very cool.
more or less. It's going to be until Sunday, and then it's going to be altogether 2 weeks.
Perfect. So what draws you to the Viking past?
It's a simpler life. Everything takes so much longer time than one would expect. So that's very nice, because it's I think in the modern society today, people are very stressed, and things are expected to be very fast. But here it takes a long time to cook food and just do craft. So that's what I like, the calmness.
So they had, if I understand things correctly, they had a bed of rye and...
I think the strongest feeling that you take from here, I think, is the communal feeling. Like all of the children here, they play together, and we, all of the adults, we help to feed them and raise them and tell them and help them. And with the adults in the evenings, when we close the village for tourists, tourists are welcome to visit the village between 11 and 5:30. And in the evenings, we all gather around the fire and tell stories and sing songs. And it's very interesting.
So the reason I've so heavily focused on trade is because, as we have already covered, white supremacists have tried to cling on to this idea of an all-white warrior origin story with the Vikings. I mean, there's Viking symbols everywhere among the ultra-right, but there's a much more important Viking legacy being shown by professors, museums, activists, even reenactors.
We know that there are people even who want to be part of this because they think that if you're into Vikings, you're also into this whole neo-pagan or Aryan national romantic ideal. I've seen as well. There's a restaurant in downtown Stockholm which is Viking themed, and one of our groups, we had a dinner there, and there were people next to the table next to us. One had a T-shirt saying, "What only the weak strive for equality." It's a thing, and so you know that it's out there, but we do our best. I think that the wonderful thing about being a Viking is that the people who actually are here are really open and really care about inclusiveness, and very much against the being co-opted by racists and white supremacists.
And I just want to point out just how inclusive this reenactment scene is. I mean, I have talked to a Jewish person. Nazis probably would not like them. I've talked to a Latina person. Nazis probably also wouldn't have liked them. See, this Birka village seems to be about as inclusive as what probably this village settlement would have been during the Viking Age, because it was a trading post, so you had lots of different people from all over the world trading, and so it's kind of fantastic to see that represented today. So cool. So freaking fantastic.
And one of the most notable ways that people are dealing with the negative side of white supremacists being obsessed with Vikings is education. For example, museums will have stuff that's called something like the Viking exhibit, but then you walk into the museum and you see that 90% of the exhibit is talking about pottery, farming techniques, it's talking about trade, not only the violent gore and bloodshed of the Viking Age. So now Viking is becoming a more inclusive term, not just a profession, but a whole group of people during the age. And it's also being associated with other things, which I think is kind of cool. I mean, who doesn't like to learn something new? So with this ends the fight over the Viking legacy. I know, it's sad. You guys have been here for all of it. You saw the process. Hopefully you saw all the videos. If you do and you like this mini documentary series, please share it with your friends, with your family, with a random person you know from the street. I don't know. Just allow everyone to watch the documentary series. It will mean the world for me. And if you would like to support my Patreon, I will leave a link in the description below. There you'll find episode scripts to, well, obviously this documentary series. You can figure out where I got all my information. You'll find a podcast series open only to my patrons. And yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop doing marketing for my Patreon. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, move on to the next video. Goodbye.